So yesterday we learned about the form slope-intercept, which looks like y equals mx plus b. This is a good form to have because the m is the slope, the b is the y-intercept, so that tells you where to be on the y-axis, where's the m, and then the m tells you the slope. There's another form of a line, that is standard form. And standard form is when you have the x, and then the y, and the constant. A whole other form called point slope form, which I'm not going to talk about. Okay, we don't really use that too often, but it is used a lot in like other areas of math. Now what's nice about standard form is, one, if you're solving systems of equations, like elimination, substitution, so standard form is the form. And it also tells you the x and y intercept very easily. So looking at this graph, and I may be off a hair, but this x-intercept was approximately negative 1.5, right? And this y-intercept was 1, 2, 3. So there's no way to get the x-intercept I know of just from this, 2x plus 3. Right? Negative 2/3 x minus 1, we know the y-intercept, but until we graphed it, we didn't know the x-intercept was negative 2. Here, for y equals negative 2, there is no x-intercept. And for x equals 4, that's an easy x-intercept right here, and no y-intercept. So standard form will tell you the intercept. So if you have a graph in standard form, basically what you do is it's going to tell you an x-intercept, it's going to tell you a y-intercept. So you plot the x-intercept, you plot the y-intercept, and then you just connect those 2 points. Okay? And this is called the cover-up method. So an example, 2x minus 3y equals 6. So this piece will tell you the x-intercept, this piece will tell you the y-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, just cover that part up. It has to be in standard form for this to work. X, then y, then equal constant. So if it's not in this form, we got to switch it around. So 2 times what is 6? 3, right? So you would say the x-intercept is 3, 0. Which means you can come over here and go 1, 2, 3, 0. Now, we're going to do the y-intercept. So we cover up this part. Don't forget about that negative sign. Negative 3 times what is 6? Or what is 6 divided by negative 3? Same thing. What is it? Close. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. We want positive 6. So negative 2, right? So the y-intercept would be, remember y-intercept always starts with 0. So you go negative 1, negative 2. So if you're taking the ACT and it's in standard form, the best way to graph it is using the intercepts. You plot the x-intercept, plot the y-intercept, and then just make your line using the ruler they provided to you at the beginning of school. Next time you lose your ID, ask them for a ruler. Don't ask them for an ID. I'm off by a hair, but you get the point. If I was using a pencil, I would have erased it really good. All right? Next. 2 more examples, and then I'm finished for today. X. And then we'll do minus 2y equals 1. Now where am I getting all these equations? I'm just making them up. Okay. So cover-up method. Let's do the x-intercept first. Christina, what do you think the x-intercept is? Let's see. Cover it up. Yeah, x is 1, right? It says right there, x is 1. It is 1, right? So I go 1, 0. Plot my point, 1, 0. And then y-intercept. Cynthia, what do you think? Cover up method, cover up the x for the y-intercept. And the reason why we're covering it up is because by definition, x-intercept, the y is 0, so we can cover this up because negative 2 times 0 is 0. And for the y-intercept, the x is 0. So we could say that's 0 and 0 with anything, you just cross it off, right? So what do you think? Negative 2 times what is 1? Or what is 1 divided by negative 2? Yeah, negative a half, right? Or negative 0.5. Negative 0.5, well if this is negative 1, it'll be about right there. Pull out the ruler they gave you. And I know we talked about this, but if you do any kind of woodworking, you'll get really good at making straight lines. If you want your stuff to show and look professional. And then let's close off this parentheses. Next. Negative 4y minus 2x equals negative 8. Do you notice anything different about this one? What? What? I think you said you need to put the x first. Is that what you said? Yeah, that's all. I mean, sometimes you just got to put it in the right form. So put the x first. And then the y. Okay. Cover up method. Negative 2 times what is negative 8, or what is negative 8 divided by negative 2? 4, yep. And that's 0. And then the y-intercept, cover up this piece. Notice I'm not covering up that negative sign. Negative 4 times what is negative 8, or what is negative 8 divided by 4? 2. Actually, I might cheat today. I forget I always have these, you know. Otherwise, well, they don't go long enough. I'm off by a hair again. That's what happens when you're 6'8" looking down on a paper 3 foot below you. Now, if you do not like standard form, that is perfectly okay with me. You could, in theory, if this were an ACT question, and you forgot the trick, you could say, huh? I don't know the Y-intercept. I don't know the slope. And you could just solve for Y. So solving for Y. And by the way, I'm doing the same problem we just did. So then you x minus 8. And then divide by negative 4. And negative 8 divided by negative 4. I'll list out my steps. And then 2 divided by negative 4 is negative 1/2. And negative 8 divided by negative 4 is 2. Now you're in slope-intercept form, which says start at 2, and then go down 1, over 2, down 1, over 2. So my point is actually supposed to go through this line. That's why I said it was off by a hair, right? Or go crosshatch. So if you don't like standard form, even in this class, and you want to convert them all to slope-intercept form, I don't care. That's fine. And then when you got further into math, you talked, if I were to plot this line and this line on the same graph, we have something called an intersection where they cross, which is called a solution. And so we could find, if I were to put this over here, it looks like it would cross over here somewhere, right? If I were to put that on top of that, it would cross like over here somewhere. And you learn, and I'm not going to go in a lot of detail. So if I take x minus 2y equals 1, and then I'll put this in this order, negative 2x minus 4y equals negative 8, you learn how to do systems of equations. So what I would do probably, multiply this all by 2. And then just bring this one over. And then you add these. Those cancel. Negative 4 makes negative 8. 2 and negative 8 makes negative 6. And then dividing that. Right? Which usually will come out to decimals. And then you can plug it back to your equations. And then 2. Six divided by 4 reduces to 3/2. That's what 1.5 to both sides plus 1 would be. So they cross at 2.75. This line on top of this line, they would cross at 2.5. Something doesn't seem right to me. Like that right there, actually. Yeah. Cross somewhere over there. Okay. If you were to put this on top. Systems of equations. I'm trying to make connections from 4 each all at one day. And you're not going to, yeah. Okay. If I completely overwhelm you, do you know how to go to find the intercepts, plot the graph? That's your only objective for today. So, can you, standard form, and I was thinking yesterday, last year, I actually took to these in one day, and per day. So, can you graph an equation in standard form? And then there's another form for lines called point-slope form. And the point-slope form will tell you a point on the graph and a slope. That's all it tells you. So we don't really use that one too much. At least not in this class. In IXL, standard form, can you graph an equation? That'll be a 90. We're going to use our graphing skills, and we're going to solve almost and that will be next week. So next week, check out the unit, and then we'll test the following Monday. And then, homework. I heard some of my kids actually, they were confused on what the homework was. That'll be due Monday. Can you graph using intercepts? Intercepts meaning X-intercept and Y. Any questions? Alright, let's just take a little peek at that homework before I let you go. Make sure there's no trick questions. I don't see any trick questions on that page. Trick questions on that page. So I think you're good. Okay?